You check your bank account before buying groceries. Not because you're broke this week, but because you're always one bad week away from broke. Sound familiar? Here's a number that should terrify you more than your student loan balance. 1 in 3 Americans has $0 saved for emergencies. 0. Not a little. 0. And the median amount everyone else has tucked away is $500. $500. That's not a safety net. That's a band-aid on a gunshot wound. But here's what nobody calculates for you. The actual price tag of having no emergency fund. Not the vague, you should probably save more lecture. The real, brutal dollars and cents cost of living without one. So let's run the numbers. I promise you've never seen it laid out like this. Meet 2 people. Same job. Same salary. $45,000 a year. Take-home pay around $2,800 a month. Person A has $3,000 sitting in savings. Person B has nothing. Same exact emergency happens to both of them on the same week. The car needs an $800 transmission repair. Person A pays it. Done. Doesn't think about it again. Their $3,000 is now $2,200. No interest, no stress, no spiral. Person B doesn't have $800. So the credit card comes out. Average credit card interest right now sits around 22%. If person B can only afford to pay $100 a month, which on a $2,800 income is realistic, that $800 repair takes 9 months to pay off. And by the time it's gone, they haven't paid $800. They've paid closer to $900. That extra $100 is the emergency fund tax, the fee you pay for not having a cushion. Now here's where it gets worse, because life doesn't politely wait for you to pay off one emergency before sending the next one. 3 months later, person B's dental crown breaks. $600. Still paying off the transmission card, so this goes on a second card, or gets tacked onto the same one. Now they're carrying $1,400 in debt, minimum payments climbing, and that 22% interest is compounding on a bigger number. 6 months after that, because this is how it actually goes, the rent goes up $200 a month, and the budget that was already stretched thin just snapped. Now they're not paying down the card anymore. They're just keeping up with minimums while the balance creeps higher. This is the spiral. It's not one bad decision. It's the absence of one good decision made years ago that would have prevented all of it. Let's zoom out and calculate what this actually costs over 5 years. Person A keeps their $3,000 cushion topped up, absorbs 4 or 5 life emergencies, the same way they absorbed the first one, pay it, replace it, move on. Total interest paid over 5 years. $0. Person B faces the same 4 or 5 emergencies with no cushion. Conservatively, that's $3,000 to $4,000 in unavoidable expenses routed through credit cards over 5 years, sitting at 22% interest, partially paid down between each new crisis. Run that math and person B pays somewhere between $1,000 and $1,800 in pure interest. Money that didn't fix a single problem. Money that just rented them permission to survive their own life. That's the visible cost. Here's the invisible one, and it's bigger. Person B can't invest. Every spare dollar is going toward minimum payments, not a 401k, not an IRA, not even a basic index fund. If person A is investing that same $100 a month instead of paying it to a credit card company, over 5 years at a 7% average return, that's almost $7,000 in their pocket that person B doesn't have. So the real gap isn't $1,000 in interest. It's closer to $8,000 or $9,000 when you count what person B didn't get to build while person A did. And we haven't even talked about the stress, the actual physical can't-sleep stress of not knowing if you can cover the next surprise bill. That's not a line item on a spreadsheet, but ask anyone who's lived it. It shapes every decision you make. People with no safety net don't take the better job that pays less for the first 6 months. They don't leave the toxic workplace. They don't take healthy financial risks because they can't afford a single misstep. The absence of a cushion doesn't just cost you money. It costs you options. So how much do you actually need to stop the bleeding? You don't need 6 months of expenses sitting in a savings account before any of this changes. The data on this is actually really encouraging. Research has shown that people with just $2,000 set aside report significantly higher financial well-being than people with nothing at all, bigger than almost any other single financial factor measured. $2,000 isn't life-changing money, but it's the difference between an emergency being an inconvenience and an emergency being a financial event that follows you for a year. Start smaller than that, even. Your first goal isn't 3 months of expenses, it's $1,000. That number alone absorbs the transmission repair, the broken crown, the vet bill, the thing that always seems to happen in the same month as 3 other things. Once you hit 1,000, the next goal is 1 month of expenses. Then, and only then, you start thinking about 3 to 6 months. Here's the part that should actually motivate you. The money you save by having a fund isn't just the principal. It's every dollar of interest you never pay, every minimum payment you never have to make, every dollar that gets to go into an investment account instead of a collections department. Building that first $1,000 isn't a boring financial chore. It's the single highest return move available to almost anyone, because the alternative is a guaranteed, repeating tax of hundreds or thousands of dollars a year paid directly to a bank for the rest of your working life if you let it run unchecked. You don't need a 6-figure salary to fix this. You need $1,000 and the willingness to leave it alone. Open a separate account today if you don't already have one. Not your checking account, where it'll disappear into groceries and gas within a week, somewhere slightly out of reach. Automate $50 a paycheck if that's all you can do. It adds up faster than you think, and every dollar in that account is a dollar that's no longer working against you at 22%. The $0 emergency fund isn't free. It's the most expensive financial decision most people don't realize they're making every single day they don't have one.